Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Good Morning Sol. And today, I think you guys are familiar with what I'm doing here by now. I'm going to be doing another character study where I look in depth at characters I like, and I'm going to also be adding to my series of Pokemon review podcasts, where I basically say everything I can about a Pokemon, and maybe one day I'll be able to do every single Pokemon, but obviously that's like lifetimes away. But anyway, the boy we are talking about today is Charmeleon. He is the Pokemon of the day, number 5 in the Pokedex. And Charmeleon, I was talking about how a lot of the middle stages of Pokemon are either awkward teen forms, or they're a case like Ivysaur, where it's you're just a slicker version of the first form. And that's kind of what Charmeleon is. He's kind of just a cool looking Charmander. But unlike Ivysaur, Charmeleon actually seems like a decent in-between between Charmander and Charizard. There's only a couple nitpicks I got with him. First off, Charmeleon is red, whereas Charizard and Charmander, they're both orange. So it's kind of just weird, oh, he's gonna turn into this red thing, and then he's going to, oh, he turned back into orange. It's kind of what? And he has no indication of these wings he's about to grow out of nowhere. Which I know you can't grow tiny little wings without looking god awful. But it's okay, so we just suddenly develop these big ass wings and we're twice our size. I know it's Pokemon, I know that happens all the time. But even Bulbasaur, his middle form said, oh, his thing is about to blossom. That was much cooler. Charmeleon doesn't really have anything like that. His head literally just grows this random point. And that's it. He's literally just he's a bulked up Charmander. And literally Charmeleon, we're getting really close to just Chameleon at that point. But he has this kind of bony, he looks more like a dinosaur than Charmander, because he's got a more bonier head, and because he also has this thing growing out of his head. His facial structure is definitely more dinosaur-like. It definitely looks more he looks like he's able to bite down on things. But that being said, I'm not hating on Charmeleon. He's better than Ivysaur, and honestly, he's a lot better than Wartortle. Wartortle is easily the worst out of this whole group. Charmeleon, sure, it's uninteresting, what he is, but he looks good. Compared to the other two, he looks a lot better. Sure, he's just a bulked up Charmander, but a bulked up Charmander can be cool. He's red and he's this little teenage guy. He's this little if you were to throw out a Charmeleon, that would tell me, oh, okay, so you're a decent trainer, right? You're not quite Charizard level, but you're doing good for yourself. You're coming up. I remember Professor Oak in Pokemon Forever. If you watch that movie, there's a teenage Professor Oak, and he had a fucking Charmeleon, which was kind of he has a Charizard because Charizard is cool, and it's oh, isn't that cool that he's giving away Pokemon that's kind of what he had, and he chose Charmander, and it's kind of oh, maybe he's even breeding. Maybe he breeded his own Charizard. Isn't that just a cool idea? But since he had a Charmeleon, it was kind of okay, so he's a decent Pokemon trainer at this point. He's not a beginner, but he's also not advanced. That's everything just sending out a Charmeleon in this old Pokeball says. And I really like in the games in Pokemon Snap, there's like Charmeleon walking around, and you can actually like throw one into a volcano, and it pops out as this giant Charizard. It is such an epic moment. Like, it is one of the biggest pops of that game. Just be like, oh look, a fucking Charmeleon, and then you throw an apple at it, and it's like, oh good god, like he fucking evolved. Like, I love Pokemon Snap for little moments like that. But other than that, like when Ash barely had his Charmeleon, and we all know the real reason for that is because he couldn't carry around this, like, all of Ash's Pokemon are like clean cut, like presentable, like the most eye candy of Pokemon. And obviously Charmeleon is not that. So it's like, okay, we gotta get you to Charizard real quick. And you know, you couldn't stay Charmander because it's like, oh well, Charizard, we gotta fucking give him a Charizard. So that was like his Charmeleon ultimately is an in-between stage. He only exists to be turned into a Charizard. That's why you use a Charmeleon to fight, to turn into a Charizard. You don't fight with a Charmeleon for the sake of you like Charmeleon. That's nobody ever. That being said, though, looking at his shiny form, like he's got a decent shiny form. Like he's like gold, but like the gold contrasts really well with the fire on his tail, unlike the whole Bulbasaur chain. Yeah, he's got a really slick design. I really like Charmeleon, despite my gripes. He's a cool guy. If I were to, rate his design, 3 out of 5. If I were to rate the Pokemon, 3 out of 5. He's pretty good. I like him. I like him more than Ivysaur. He's like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 for me. He's pretty good. And that's my thoughts on Charmeleon. I know that was kind of a quick one, but not a lot to say about this one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's Pokemon episode review thing. And I'll see you tomorrow with another episode of Good Morning Soul. And until then, thank you for watching. And with that, I leave you.